Welcome to the September session of the Westside Wines Wine School class. My name is Greg Nemergut. I'm the owner here at Westside. And for this month's class, I've chosen the topic of Zinfandel, the grape and its wines. I'll have to admit that personally, I have a soft spot for Zinfandel because it was really one of the first wines that I was drawn to when I began learning about and enjoying wine. But I think more importantly, to me, Zinfandel's ability as a wine to straddle the line between serious and fun, as well as its versatility in pairing with a variety of foods, makes this a grape worth exploring. So, before we get into talking about the wines that I've selected for this month's class, I think it's important to just provide a little background on Zinfandel. Historically, the grape first arrived in California in the 1850s, and at that time it was thought to be genetically linked to a grape from Italy called Primitivo. It was later determined that the grape's actual origin was from Croatia, and two grape varietals that I won't even try to pronounce for the purposes of this video. But it really didn't find its stride until the early 1990s. And as is the case with any wine grape, when it's treated properly and grown in the right places is when it reaches its heights. And in the case of Zinfandel, there were two pioneers, one Paul Draper and another Joel Peterson. Paul Draper, who's the owner and winemaker at Ridge, and Joel, who's one of the wines we'll discuss, and and Joel Peterson from Ravenswood were two of the people that pioneered it. And at the same time, through experimentation, they found that Zinfandel performed best in certain areas and obviously certain climates. And in the case of Zinfandel, it performed best in cooler areas with lots of sunshine, but also that had some higher elevation. So, as I said, through trial and error, there were three key areas that will be represented here in the wines I've selected today that have really become key areas for growing quality Zinfandel. The first is Sonoma County, and particularly the Dry Creek area. And this area to date has the largest growing area for quality Zinfandel grapes of all the key Zinfandel wine producing regions. The other is Napa Valley for obvious reasons, and both of those are on the north coast of California. And the third is an area which is more inland and the central area, which is referred to as Lodi, a little warmer area. But as is the case with each of those areas, there's subtle kind of distinct characteristics that Zinfandel displays in these areas. So let's talk a little bit about the wines. The first wine I selected was from Ridge Vineyards, and as I mentioned earlier, Paul Draper is probably the pioneer for high-quality Zinfandel in California, and he was really one of the first to put an emphasis on not only specific sites, but vineyard-specific wines, and the Geyserville is a great example of that. This is the 2012 vintage, and as the case with a lot of Zinfandels, they blend with other grapes. In this case, Petit Syrah, Carignan, and a grape that's called Mataro or Mourvedre. This wine displays the classic characteristics of Sonoma, where it has nice, bright red fruit. It has some blackberry flavors, it has some anise, and it has that pepperiness that is an earmark for Zinfandel. So this is, I think, a great example of Zinfandel from, to me, the master of Zinfandel. The next is a wine from the Napa Valley area, producer Green and Red, And like Ridge is one of the earlier rivals to quality Zinfandel. In the case of the green and red, the Childs Mill vineyard is a high elevation vineyard and over close to 1,200 feet above sea level. And so the green and red displays what I think are classic characteristics of Zinfandel from Napa Valley, which is a little more sophisticated version of Zinfandel, a little more polished, a little plummy, but also some nice hints of cedar and vanilla, which make this to me a classic example of Napa Valley Zinfandel. And the last, as I mentioned, Lodi is more inland and a warmer area, so I think it takes people who really understand the agriculture in that area. And as the case with the third wine, the Clinker Brick Old Vine Zinfandel 2011, the proprietors were former growers that morphed into winemakers, and they really were one of the more newly arrivers to Zinfandel, not making wine until almost 2000. But this particular wine, the Clinker Brick, displays what I consider to be that jammy, juicy style that Lodi has become known for. Now, as I said in the onset, one of the things that I think is one of the most appealing things about Zinfandel is the ability to pair with a wide range of foods and that versatility. It can span the range from beef to chicken to fish in a variety of preparations, but particularly in an Cajun and Asian preparation, which make it a little spicier, which really draw out the fruit and the spice of Zinfandel. But also, I think it is a perfect partner for anything off the grill, particularly barbecue and ribs or barbecue chicken. But lastly, it's become a mainstay on the dining table for Thanksgiving because of this versatility. And if you think about all the things going on the Thanksgiving table besides the bird, I think Zinfandel makes a wonderful wine. So, in my mind, what better wine, an American wine for an American holiday? So, we've talked about the background, we've talked about what makes quality Zinfandel, we've talked about a few producers. So, what I would do is encourage you to go out and either try some that I suggested, stop in the store, or buy them online. But I really think the serious yet fun nature of Zinfandel makes it a wine that everybody should, add to their wine cabinet or put on their dining room table. So go out there and try Zinfandel. And to the next class, cheers.